I hope everyone is having a good day so far. I know I am. It is going late into the day, but that is okay. We're gonna have fun today. We're gonna have a lot of fun today. Or night, I should say. Sadly, my friend could not join me today in saying hello and introducing herself. But there's always next time, am I right? Hopefully she's able to join me in one of these videos and just say hello or help me create a little video or a little collab, I guess you can say. But, anyways, let's get started on the book. Your name woke up an hour before Marcus was to return home. How she wished that she could go back to sleep. She debated on ordering pizza. She sat up with a sigh. It would be her luck that the delivery person would be late, and heavens forbid the delivery person be a boy. Marcus would beat her senseless, as he got jealous easily. So with those thoughts swimming through her head, she headed downstairs to the kitchen. She pulled chicken out of the fridge, pasta and sauce out of the pantry, and garlic bread from the freezer. This meal would be simple and easy, something that wouldn't require much work. As everything began cooking, she decided to make a salad that would go nicely along with the meal. Marcus came inside the home and inhaled. Lemons was the first thing to hit his nose, followed by the delicious meal. His stomach growled, and he headed immediately for the kitchen. Your name had just sat down his steaming hot plate and looked up, meeting his green eyes with her eye color ones. "Welcome home," she said softly, and Marcus only nodded in approval. He sat in his usual spot and began eating. Your name made her way to the fridge and pulled out a beer. She held back a sigh. She hated when he drank. The man couldn't hold back his alcohol, and it made his anger worse. But refusing him would make it even worse on her. So she opened the beer and sat it beside his plate, and she began to fix her own plate first. She put salad on her plate, then as he reached for the handle for the pasta, Marcus cleared his throat. She froze and looked up at him. His eyes were narrowed. "Maybe you should just eat the salad. You're picking up weight, fatty," he grumbled as he continued eating his meal. The astonished, hair-colored girl blinked once, then twice, and looked at her plate. She added a little more salad and decided to follow his advice to avoid torment while she tried to eat. She picked up her fork and slowly munched on the salad, fighting hard to hold back the tears. "What have I done to deserve this?" she asked herself, and quickened her pace to finish so she wouldn't have to be near him. She stood and gathered her dishes. She sat them in the sink before moving to the leftovers. "Would you like some more?" she asked, not looking up. "This is enough. I can't stand your cooking," he spat, and she only nodded. Thought she knew that was a lie. It still hurt pretty badly. Quickly she put away the leftovers. She began to wash all the dishes. When she heard the TV come on, she knew that Marcus had finished and retired to the living room. She gathered his dishes and washed them as well. She straightened up the kitchen once more. Looking at the clock, she decided to get more sleep. Quickly making her way upstairs, she crawled into bed. Dark thoughts began to consume her mind. Is any of this worth it? Am I worth it? Will this ever end? The thoughts were endless and danced tauntingly in her mind until she finally drifted off to sleep. "You worthless excuse of a woman!" A booming voice startled her awake. gasping as he sat up, only to be met with a fist to the face. She felt a blow, 2 blows, then 3. She cried out in pain, trying not to scream. "I was yelling for you," he screamed at her. She was crying. I, I was sleeping for work," she sobbed, but she was only met with a slap to the face. I don't care. I said I wanted this place spotless." Through his words, they were clear as day. There was a slur to his voice, and she could only guess why she was being met with this fate. "You didn't do the damn laundry. You can't even get one fucking request right." Before Your Name could even defend herself or try to reason with him, he grabbed her by the hair, pulling hard as he yanked her out of the bed. With a scream of pain, he then proceeded to drag her out of the room, down the hall, and down the stairs. Her screams of pain echoed in the stairway, and she struggled to keep herself from nearly breaking bones. "You better get this fucking shit done before you go to work, you lazy piece of shit," he growled as he threw her into the metal washer and dryer face first, bruising her lip, blood dripping from her chin as she was crying so hard she couldn't breathe. For the second time today, he spit on her. The smell of beer was strong, and to she struggled to rationalize his actions as she sobbed alone in the laundry room. There would never be a way to rationalize this. Never. Once the pain began to subside slightly, she picked herself up and got started. She didn't want to risk him coming back and not seeing her working on the laundry. She finished about an hour before work. She slowly and quietly headed upstairs, and thankfully Marcus was passed out. So she quickly showered and followed yesterday's routine. However, she could not bring herself to eat. She was still in pain and her stomach was twisted into knots. Maybe I'll mess up and get shoved into a suit after all. Chapter 4, Night 2. Getting out of her car, Your Name sighed. Today she had worn a jacket, a feeble attempt at hiding her dark forming bruises. Shivering as the cold wind blew against her small frame, she limped inside the building. There she looked back up at the animatronics. They were not hiding the fact they were looking at her now. She gulped and hugged her jacket tighter to her before making her way to the office. She sat down. Your Name sat down. She had 30 minutes before her shift started. She hadn't realized that she had gotten there so early. It was probably just a feeling of needing to get out of there. She picked up Carl and leaned back in the chair. Closing her eyes, she decided to relax before pure insanity ensured. As she was about to doze off, the bell chimed, signaling the start of her shift. She began checking the cameras. Nobody had moved yet she was about to check Pirate's Cove. The phone rang, nearly making her scream in surprise. She went to answer it, but before she could, the call ended, and she missed it. She hoped nothing of value was in that call. She sighed, or Your Name sighed, and upon checking the show stage, she gulped. Freddy was gone. Before she could react, someone cleared their throat from her left. With a terrified scream, she scrambled to her right, away from the person. Upon looking at him, she rose her brow. A tall, lean male stood before her. He wore a black suit with a bow tie, and poking out from underneath his top hat were brown ears. Bear ears. My goodness, I cannot read today. Your Name's brain began turning, and the male could practically see could practically see steam coming out of her ears. He chuckled. Freddy Fazbear, dear, I could not help but notice your limp. I'm assuming you were injured? He chuckled darkly before continuing. And not by our hands. She blinked, and anger soon consumed her. The murderous bear wasn't worried about her because she was injured. It was because it didn't happen by their hands. Fantastic. May I ask how this happened? I'm sorry if that seems to disappoint you, Freddy, but I think it is none of your concern, she said through gritted teeth, clenching her fist. The male's blue eyes observed her before smirking, shaking his head. His brown hair moved as he did. The fear in her face was gone. He had apparently hit a nerve. Well, miss, your name? You should know one thing. I have my ways of finding out regardless, if you want me to or not, he said, stepping closer to her. He noted every bruise and scratch on her face, along with the bruised lip. His eyes trailed down to her neck, and he only caught a slight glimpse before she hid the bruise. Her eyes darted to the floor, and she began trembling. Freddy shook his head before turning on his heels. He glanced back at her. See you soon. And then he was gone. Gulping, she sat down, and her brain began to process the interaction. How was he able to transform like that? Could the others? Just what is this place? She bit her lip before turning the tablet back on. She flipped through each of the cameras. No one was moving. She felt rather unnerved by this. Had Freddy said something to the others? She assumed so because, as the bell chimed hours later, no one had stirred or made a sound. Gathering her things rather quickly, she bid goodbye to Carl, rushing down the hallway and into the main area. She glanced at the stage. This time she did not wave. Just shot the brown bear a glare, forcing herself to move quicker as she left the pizzeria. She didn't want to be late in fear of how Marcus would react. Okay, I want to read one more chapter. One more chapter. Chapter 5, Sneaking Suspicion. As your name drove home, she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Perhaps it was just Freddy's words that frightened her. She huffed, and soon pulled into the driveway. She glanced into the rearview mirror, could have sworn she saw a flash of gold. It was gone just as quick as she saw it, and she thought maybe her frazzled mind was playing tricks on her. After all, she had faced a lot of trauma the past few days. She got out of the car and walked into her front doorstep. As she unlocked the door, she noticed a note. Taking it in surprise, she opened it and read it. Dear Your Name, I got a call early this morning for an emergency business trip for work. I should only be gone for about 5 or 6 days. I expect the house to be spotless, including laundry. Also restock the fridge and pantry. You haven't gone shopping in a while, and I imagine all the food will be gone by the time I return. Have fun while you can. Love, Marcus. As she entered the house and tossed the letter and her keys on the table, she sighed, but froze when she saw the horrific mess in front of her. Chairs, table, the couch, beer bottles, and were everywhere. She groaned in disgust as she caught the whiff of dinner she had made last night. She carefully made her way around the kitchen, and sure enough, it was everywhere. Your Name wanted to break down in tears right then and there. She couldn't believe one man could be so evil. She she sighed. Well, she better at least clean up the mess. It took her an hour of scrubbing, but the kitchen was once again spotless. She turned around, another flash of gold. She blinked in surprise. The feeling had not left, and she felt on edge. Who could be following her? Or was it just her imagination? Your name headed to the living room. She debated on cleaning this as well. I'll save it for later. I'm exhausted, she thought, and did just that. She headed upstairs, and thankfully, when she opened the shared bedroom, it was spotless. Breathing out in relief, she quickly went to change. As she expected, the bedroom she saw it again. Gold. What was happening? She looked around, out her windows, behind the doors, and even in the shower curtain. Nothing. I'm going crazy, she whispered to herself, her eyes scanning the room again. She sighed. No use in getting worked up over it. So she crawled into bed and laid down. Perhaps she would be able to sleep soundly. She didn't have to worry about being up to have to make dinner for Marcus, or worry about offending him in some manner and getting beat up for it. Just maybe during this time, her body would have a chance to heal. Just as she was about to drift off to sleep, the feeling came back, stronger than it ever had before. Her heart began to race. She shot up and once again she saw the flash of gold. But again there was nothing. She she whirled she willed her heart she willed her heart to slow and caught her frantic frantic breath. Laying down, she grew concerned for her mind and her eyesight, with her thoughts once again swirling with questions. She drifted to sleep. Well, I 3 chapters for today. I'm actually kind of happy about that. And I really do hope you guys have an amazing day or night, whatever time it is over there. And I will talk to you guys in the next video. Bye.